Has your New Year diet already started to fizzle? Over the course of this video, I'm going to show you why, how to stop the slide, and I'm going to show you our 3-step framework so that you can start losing weight without eliminating all the stuff that you enjoy, and ultimately so you can make 2026 the best year ever. And this is super important. This is my life's work about how to try and get people out of the yo-yo mindset. So a little story before we kind of get into the juice. About a year ago at this point, I had a lady message me, Nat, and she'd been stuck in this cycle for years and years. She'd literally tried every diet under the sun, like keto, Slimming World, Weight Watchers, low carb, eliminating sugar, no alcohol, no, like all of them. And they all kind of went in the exact same rhythm. Is she'd be really good for a while, she'd make some progress, she'd start to feel a little bit better, and then something would slip, right, as it always does, and something would come in. It could be that she actually just loses a little bit of motivation. It could be that work starts getting a little bit more stressful. Whatever it is, like the thing that threw her off track would always kind of would change, but the root cause of it things would slip and they'd stop for a couple of days, and then she'd try and get it back on, but it wouldn't be with the exact same level of execution. And so then it would slip a little bit further, and then suddenly, like 6 months later, she was looking up and like, oh my god, where am I? And so she reached out and got in touch with me, because sustainable body transformations is what we do. That's our jam. And she wanted something that was not miserable throughout the process, actually sustainable, so that she could carry it forwards. And over the past year, she's lost over 100 pounds. She's gone from not being able to run down the street to signing up for an ultra marathon, which is crazy. And she's done this only training 3 times a week at home. So when you get this right, things start to move dramatically, but they do it in a way that's actually enjoyable. So it doesn't feel like quite so much of a slog. So what I can promise you is, if you put these steps in place, I can't guarantee that you're going to lose 100 pounds, but you are going to start noticing some differences massively on the scale. You're going to start feeling better. It's not going to feel like a massive slog to do. And so ultimately you can carry this forward and hopefully make 2026 the year ever. Now, the reason why diets fail, in my experience, is they're all a little bit miserable, right? And they all have one thing in common, which is you have to eliminate something. There's some devil, a demon in your nutrition that is holding things back. And if you just eliminate that little motherfucker, then things will start moving. But it's always a short-term solution. The second thing that I see people struggling with is just going absolutely balls out, trying to be perfect straight away, and then not being able to maintain that standard, and having one little slip up and then it kind of spiraling. And ultimately all this does is, the more times that you reinforce that pattern, the more times that you try something and then fall off track, and then try something and then fall off track, the more it is you almost reinforce that pattern. You reinforce that identity in your head that maybe I am just the type of person who falls off track, and maybe I'm not meant to be fit, and maybe I'm just the way this, or maybe this is just who I am. I am just this all or nothing person. And so we need to work against that. All right, we need to flip the script, because if you repeat the same thing over and over and over again and expect a different result, or like Einstein said, that's crazy. There's madness. So we need to try some different solutions. So the way that I try and teach this to our clients is, there are no good foods and bad foods. There are only the amounts of which you eat them. The devil is in the dosage. Everything can be factored in, and you can still make a tremendous amount of progress, as long as you pay attention to the science, which I'm about to give to you. And ultimately, results are fantastic, but unless you can actually maintain and sustain those results with a routine that you really like forever, it's kind of pointless, right? Because eventually things will slip, and things will slide, and things will reverse back to how they were before. So we want to make results, but we need to do it in a way that's actually enjoyable, okay? That way you can start making progress. It doesn't feel like a massive slog, and is actually enjoyable. Okay, so first thing is to nail the basics. Step 1 of the Balanced Body Nutrition Anti-Diet Formula. Step 1, nail the basics, okay? There's two things that matter in your nutrition. If you want to be losing weight, if you want to get leaner, if you want to feel a little bit better in your skin, you have to hit the right amount of calories, you have to hit the right amount of proteins. That's it. Right. Don't worry about carbs, don't worry about fats, don't worry about like micronutrients and hitting a certain amount of vitamin C. It doesn't matter. All right. Until you are very, very, very advanced and you are like, I want to jump on stage in my pants with a freaking tan on, glistening with coconut oil. It doesn't matter. Right. Just focusing on those two things is going to get you to a very advanced level. And if at that point, you're probably going to feel really good anyway. So you're probably not even going to want to have to focus on anything. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients over the years. The amount of people I've had to focus on carbs with, 2. That's because they were type 2 diabetic. It wasn't even for fat loss. Okay. So in order to find the right amount of calories, what I recommend is starting to track your intake as accurately as possible. Right. So download like a tracker on your phone, MyFitnessPal, Chronometer, NutriCheck. They're all fun. It doesn't really matter. For the next 7 days, almost make a promise to yourself that you are going to be as accurate and as honest as possible. Okay. Everything that goes into your mouth, almost made a very bad joke, but I'm not going to do it. Anything that goes into your mouth is going to be accounted for. Right. So drinks, oils that you cook with, licks, nibbles, taste, bites, everything is going to be accounted for. Track it down. Okay. Just by doing that, by creating that consciousness, you are going to lose weight. Right. I can almost guarantee it. But what that's going to give you is going to give you a baseline. Because if you start dropping weight on average amount of calories, all you need to do is pull out 200 to 300 calories out and things are going to start moving a little bit more aggressively. Okay, if you're in a 500 calorie deficit, you're going to lose about a pound per week. You could be up to 1,000 calorie deficit if you want to be more aggressive with it. I like being more aggressive just because dieting is always kind of miserable. And so if you can condense that into a smaller window of time, things are going to be much better. All right. That calorie target is not a magic number. Okay. It's not like the genie is going to come down and you're going to hit that amount of calories for a couple of weeks and then you're going to be a freaking Adonis. It's not going to happen like that. Okay, you have to manipulate it. So with your track your scale weight every single day, monitor the changes. If things keep progressing, fantastic. No need to tweak things. If things plateau, that's when you either address the training component or you address the nutrition component and just create that little bit more of a gap. Okay. Calories is king. It's number one. Second most important thing is proteins. Proteins just maintains your satiety. It means that you're less miserable whilst you do this. Okay, so you should be trying to hit between 2 to 2.2 grams per kilo of body weight in terms of daily proteins. Okay, you're going to be way more satiated. Your blood sugar is going to be much more stable. You're going to be less snacky, crazy monster, and the whole thing is going to be much more enjoyable. Okay, which leads me on to step 2, protein. How to make this flexible, enjoyable, something that you can actually maintain. So the biggest thing that we recommend in terms of protein is freaking stack that bad boy in the front part of your day as much as you can. Okay, so breakfast is the highest priority meal, and that doesn't mean if you're doing like a fasting technique, that's cool. Just means meal number one needs to be the highest protein meal of the day. Ideally, if we can get 40 to 50% of your protein target done in that meal, we're going to be in a much better spot. All right. You're just going to be much more satiated. Your blood sugar is going to be super stable. Those little points where you sort of go blind and then you wake up in the cupboard, like covered in Dorito dust, are going to be eliminated. But also by doing that, you just get a lot more flexibility later in the day, right? Because it just means as long as you've had a bit of a focus on lunch, you've probably got 80 to 90% of the way there on into your protein target. Okay, which means that you don't sit there at 7 p.m. whilst your family's having pizza and you're having to like deep throat down some freaking chicken breast to try and hit your protein target, and then you're like, oh god, this is annoying, and then you're looking resentfully at your husband's pizza, going, oh, you're such a dickhead, right? And it just allows you to have a little bit more freedom, a little bit more flexibility. It doesn't feel like you're doing something glaringly different by doing that. So I would get 2 to 3 different options for breakfast that you're just going to cycle between. And that could be a high protein smoothie. That could be like eggs and egg whites on toast. That could be Greek yogurt and berries, like whatever actually works for you in your lifestyle, but hits that 40 to 50% mark. So for most people, you want to be getting 60-ish, 60 to 70 grams. Right, a little bit of supplementation really, really helps. Get some whey protein, smash it in, makes it really easy. If you want a full run through of this system, down below, if you click the link, you can download my ebook. It's completely for free. I run through the entire system. In there as well, there's lots of different trainings that talks you through this in a little bit of a greater depth. Plus, as a little bonus, you get some extra recipe books that you can have access to make this really easy. Okay. Step 3 is how do you actually maintain this for a good for a good chunk of time. All right. Ideally, you want to be you want to be focusing on this until you get to the point where you just feel really freaking good, and you look in the mirror and you're like, "Damn, you sexy." Because when you get to that point, you can start the next phase, which is reverse engineering out of it, so that you boost your metabolism, and then you don't have to really do it again. Okay. But you have to be consistent for a long enough chunk of time to actually get to that result. So you need to factor in life. You need to factor in fun stuff. You need to factor in like going out for a couple of drinks with your mates. You need to factor in getting to the end of the week and just having a meal that you're not having to think about it. You need to factor in like family meals at the end of the day. Like everyone's got their non-negotiables, which they're just not willing to compromise on. And you need to allow and account for all of that. All right, it's the only way that you're actually going to be consistent enough to get the results that you want. So first thing to do is, if you know that you have, like for example, for me, I want to get to the end of the week, I want to have a takeaway, I want to have a bottle of wine with my wife, and I don't want to think about it. I will not be answering questions at this time. Thank you. So in order to do that, I think of my calories not as a daily budget, but as a weekly budget. If I know that I'm going to go 1,000 calories over on one day, what I do is offset in the lead up. So Monday to Thursday, I'll pull my calories down a little bit. I'll make the difficult decisions. I'll have a little bit more of a vegetable presence in there, like just kind of a little bit more traditional, because if by doing that, that gets me to the end of the week and I can go have a buffalo fried chicken burger and a bottle of wine and watch Traitors. Fantastic. Hello. Perfect. Just allows me to be more consistent in the long term. Okay, so if you know you have something like that, whether it's going out for a meal, you have an event, you have a work thing, offset it, budget through the week to do that. If you want a little bit more fun stuff on a daily basis, like you want a little bit of chocolate at the end of the day, you want just to have a normal family meal, you want to like have a little brewski, completely fine. Plan it in. Factor it in. If you know that you want to have a normal family meal, there has to be more of an emphasis on breakfast and lunch in order to be able to do that. If you know that you want to have a little bit of a chocolate, you may have to pull some calories out earlier in the day to offset it. But by doing this, it just allows you to be consistent long enough that you don't actually have to think about it that much. So that's the main thing that everybody wants to get to. And I think you'll probably want that as well. It's just to not have to goddamn think about it anymore. It's like, so if you can do this and you can build that structure in place where you're starting to get all that fun stuff in, it doesn't feel like you're on a diet anymore. You're not the person anymore who's having to diet to try and lose weight. It's a transition of eating approach. It's just a little shift, right? And it's those little shifts, those 1% improvements on a weekly basis that compound and that grow and that ultimately start in like changing your view on yourself, right? You stop being the person who's not going to be able to do it, and you start being the person who can, right? And the words that you use in your head start changing and your identity starts to grow. And that's ultimately the point of which this starts to become a little bit more sustainable in the long term, okay? So if this was helpful, love to know, like and subscribe. If you want a little bit more help, I can help you in two ways. Number one is down below, you can download our ebook. It runs through the entire system in terms of training, nutrition, mindset, habits, basically everything that you need in order to be able to lose weight, feel better in yourself and actually make the whole thing enjoyable, and you can have that for if you know that you really want to sort this, you want 2026 to be the best year so far. I invite you to book a call. It's going to be with me. We'll chat through your situation. We'll chat through exactly what you're struggling with. I will build you a plan out there that you can literally just take away and run with. Or if you want to know a little bit more about our program and how to work with me a little bit more closely, we can run through that. But hopefully you have enjoyed this. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to share on with anyone who you think it will be helpful. I'm going to try and make a point to do at least one of these every single week, going through everything just to help as much as I can.